Hi everyone, welcome back to the cottage. Today I have a whole lot of productivity motivation to share with you, especially how it relates to decluttering and organizing by explaining some of the biggest habits that might be getting in your way. You've been watching videos and reading articles about decluttering, organizing, simple living, and minimalism, and you're starting to recognize the negative impacts that excess clutter is having on your life. You're ready to make a change. You feel motivated and excited, and yet you're not quite able to make the progress that you were hoping for. What's going on here? What is holding you back? Let's talk about that today. The first habit that is getting in your way of being productive is procrastination. Now you might be thinking that procrastination isn't a habit, but it actually is. It's one that's very deep-seated, and once it takes root, can be extremely difficult to break free from. Because procrastination, the more that we procrastinate, the more guilt that we feel. And when we're feeling guilt, the more that we want to avoid doing the thing that's making us feel guilty. So it's a really nasty cycle that, like I said, it continues on and on. So what can we do to avoid procrastination altogether, or to break that habit? I've read that the biggest reason that we procrastinate is because of confusion or not having a clear plan of what we are trying to accomplish. While knowing that we want to get rid of clutter and simplify our lives is a great thought to have, if we don't have any actionable steps to move in that direction, we may find ourselves just staring at a room full of boxes and piles of clutter, not knowing what to do next. This is where the classic to-do list can be one of our greatest guides. We start by writing down everything that's on our mind that we need to accomplish, sort of a brain dump, and then begin to prioritize which tasks that we want to work on first. This will give a clear plan of attack. From there, if we have any additional confusion about how to get a particular job completed, we can do some research and make notes in preparation. Now, I've heard a couple of different theories on ways that you should attack your to-do list. One of them is to pick the most difficult item first, and I've heard this called eating the frog. I think there's even a book titled that, where you choose the one that is the most difficult, and then once that's out of the way, it kind of opens the floodgates and everything else seems easy in comparison. Another way is to really find some smaller things that you can get done more quickly and easily and use more of a snowball technique. When it comes to decluttering and organizing your home, that is actually the technique I would defer to, because I think it is important to get those small, easy wins in to help keep us motivated and help keep us going. If you want a few really easy, clear-cut ideas on what to declutter and how to go about doing that, I would encourage you to watch my video about 15-minute decluttering. In that video, I outline 15 different, very simple, easy decluttering projects that you can tackle in 15 minutes or less. And those are some easy wins that, again, I think will add to motivation and keep you being productive. Knowing that the hardest part of most anything is the starting can actually give us a lot of peace of mind when it comes to the procrastination habit, because if we have a good plan in place and we know where we're going to start and we know how we're going to go about tackling it, then that can take a lot of the pressure off and make the starting part a lot more automatic. The second habit that is keeping us from being productive and motivated is being overwhelmed, aka taking on way too much or looking at the overall big picture for far too long. The thing that happens to me when I get overwhelmed is what I call spinning. I start working on one thing and then try to chip off a little on another, and I find myself going in circles, getting bits and pieces accomplished, yet never ever actually finishing anything. When we take on too much, we are allowing all sorts of little distractions to keep us from giving our very best care. And I know as women, it is easy for us to fall into this trap because generally we're pretty good at multitasking. And so it just makes sense to us to do multiple things all at one time. But the problem is when we're juggling all of these things, we're giving a little less care to each one. So instead of giving expert care in one area, we're giving mediocre care to many different areas. It can also be really helpful to break down those larger tasks into smaller, more easily manageable pieces. So for example, if you are looking at an entire room that you need to declutter and organize and clean up, it can feel really overwhelming. But if you focus instead on just working on, say, the dresser in that room, and then once that's done, you're going to move to the closet or the desk area, it seems a lot more manageable and a lot more doable. Another technique that is very helpful when it comes to overwhelming ideas and things that you need to accomplish is to set a timer. And setting this timer for a small amount of time, maybe 15 to 30 minutes maximum, can really help you focus your efforts and give your best care for that amount of time. And you might be surprised to find out how much more you can accomplish by having that focused effort instead of having it scattered all amongst a lot of different things. And also remember, if you are feeling overwhelmed, that it is okay and actually really important to remember to take some breaks. The third way that productivity can be stalled is by fearing failure. When we feel like we might fail at the task laid out in front of us, it genuinely makes us not even want to try. The two main ways that this fear can creep in are number one, perfectionism. If you worry that you can't have things perfect, you don't even want to bother trying. Or number two, if your brain has a tendency to really jump to a worst case scenario. In all honesty, a lot of the thoughts that we have going through our minds when it comes to fear are really illogical and unfounded. To break free of this habit of fear, I find it's really impactful and helpful to keep a journal. So if you're about to embark on something new that you're unfamiliar with, if you write down your thoughts about it, why are you hesitant to start? What are you afraid of? What is that you can think of the worst case scenario that could possibly happen? Write all of those things down. The journaling can serve as a way to help mentally prepare yourself and get your mind right. Think of ways that you will face a roadblock should it stand in your way, and use logic to destroy those fears and get a healthy game plan that will help you keep on track if and when the difficulties do arise. If we really stop to think about it, there are usually very practical, simple solutions to help us get past these struggles that may come up in the future. So for example, if you're afraid of starting a decluttering process because you're worried that you might get rid of something either through donating or selling that you're going to want back later, what are some ways that you can prepare for that? You might want to have a time will tell bin where you keep items that you're just not quite sure you're ready to part with, and then within a year's time, if you actually do need that item, it's right there for you to use. Or maybe you just set aside a little bit of money, a replacement type of fund, should you decide that maybe you made a mistake and you want to replace something that you did declutter. You have that money there and available to you. So thinking of these different strategies is a great way to get in front of the fear and make it sort of a non-issue. The fourth thing that can really get in the way of your motivation and productivity is being sedentary or not moving your body. As I've gotten older, it's become more and more clear to me that our body's energy levels work on a sort of supply and demand process. Have you ever seen a young child, a toddler, and wondered how they're able to just keep moving constantly like an Energizer bunny? The more that we use our bodies, the more that our bodies and our brains recognize that we need more energy to keep going. So if we live a really sedentary lifestyle where we just sit around on the couch, don't extend a lot of energy, our bodies and brains aren't going to give us a lot. We kind of put ourselves into sleep mode. But if we exercise or just really move our bodies on a regular basis, that is going to help increase our energy levels, and therefore that will aid in our motivation to get things accomplished. And like I said earlier, the hardest part of motivation is generally the start. If your body is in the habit of moving, it will have an easier time starting with a task like decluttering or organizing as well. And the last thing that I want to talk about today, the fifth habit that keeps you from being productive and motivated, is having a scarcity mindset. Now, having a mindset of scarcity can keep us from being productive and motivated for a couple of different reasons. Number one, this type of mindset makes us believe that we can only accomplish so much. It puts a cap on the amount of productivity that we believe that we can accomplish because of what we are used to in the past. So if we have only gone so far in the past, we believe there's no way we can go any further now or in the future. And as it relates to decluttering, if you are used to working intensely for only 30 minutes, but yet you have a task that's maybe going to take 3 hours, it's going to be really hard for you to get past that 30-minute marker because it's as much as you think that you can do. Number 2, a scarcity mindset can cause us to just cope in the short term rather than to make plans and strategies for long-term solutions. For example, if you get paper clutter into your home, you might just cope with putting everything into one big bin, and that's just your strategy because you're coping for the moment, instead of really thinking about the long-term solution of getting a filing cabinet and getting things organized within that filing cabinet. And number 3, especially as it relates to clutter, having this mindset of scarcity is going to cause us to really bring more into our lives or hold on to much more than we need. It's sort of self-sabotaging in that way. A scarcity mindset will get in the way of our contentment and overall happiness with our lives. And who can be their most productive when they're feeling crummy about their lives? Nobody. This may very well be the most difficult habit to break from this list, but shifting instead to an abundance mindset is the best way to break free from this trap of feeling scarcity, realizing and recognizing that you have enough and that you are enough is the key. I hope that by eliminating or lessening these 5 habits from your life, you're able to feel much more motivated and productive, especially as it relates to decluttering and simplifying. If you are actively in the decluttering process right now, would you give me a comment down below letting me know how it's going? If you are having successes, if you're having struggles, I would love to be here to encourage you and to support you on this journey. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope that you'll stop by the cottage again really soon.